Good evening. In tonight's episode, we will watch a man making a video in ASMR of the execution of a painting. This man made an oil on canvas and decided to broadcast the making of the very same painting and put it on the internet. Let's watch the results of it. Hello, and welcome to another chapter of painting in ASMR. I hope that you're ready for a little bit, just a tiny little trip of painting through this canvas. The other painting, the ballerina, is at the moment in the process of drying, and this one will be the painting that we will be working on today. We shall do a bit of painting in this canvas, apply a bit of colour, volume, light, and why not think of Vermeer, of the maestro Vermeer. Vermeer, simply Vermeer. Let's go for it. And here we are, once again, painting this canvas. I think this is the first video I make with this particular painting, and I did mention Vermeer at the beginning of this session, although at the end of this session, as you'll notice, I didn't go anywhere near the Vermeer, not even far from approaching that type of technique at all. The only thing that this painting has in common and the technique used on it is that it's oil on canvas, that's all. I do think frequently of Vermeer, but as you can see, I do not apply any Vermeer-esque technique at all. Let's apply a bit of paint on the face of this small character. The small character behind bars. This small character is behind bars, staring outside of the painting. Yes. And there we go, applying detail with the same size of brush. A bit of brown, shall we? A bit of brown. Basically, the most recent paintings I've done have all been done with this tiny little brush. The whole thing, yes. A tint of darker brown. Let's put a bit of black on this brown colour. I had quite a bit of colour on that palette, some 10 to 12 colours. 2 types of yellow, white, 2 types of white. Now I'm using titanium and zinc white, both of them. Black, 2 types of blue, 3 types of blue. There's a bit of white to the bars, holding this man inside of his cell. Yes. Got that grey, a bit greenish, like a bit greenish, and now a bit bluish. Yeah, here we go. Applying the paint to that face and to the bars. Why not a bit of blue? Why not a bit of grey? Right there, right there, right down to the base of the bar, holding the man in a prison. There he is, staring out in contemplation. Yes, absolutely. Most definitely.
In this dark place.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Looking out from within.
A bit of an approach to the microphone on that one.
The injustices of the world placed him there. It's more like a soul rather than a man.
There we go, there's the explanation, really.
It's a magic presence.
It's a magic presence that has been imprisoned. Although, at the beginning of this session of painting, of this very session of painting which took place yesterday, the painting now is not recognizable. The last time that painting that you are watching right here on the ASMR session, the last time that painting looked like that was yesterday. It no longer looks like that. The two characters above on the top right hand corner, sitting on that metallic chair, are the only remaining vestiges of this stage of the painting. Everything you're looking at no longer exists, everything else. Only those two top corners, the small table with the tiny men, which resembles the other table with the, let's say, regular sized men. It's kind of a repetition of that same scene, only a bit further along, with the strange device there to plunge a man on a metallic chair on ice cold water, which is the whole theme of this painting. Only the man is no longer there, and the man who plunges him is no longer there either. On the small top left-hand version of this original version of the painting. I will make a long session to show you what the end result of yesterday's session was. The painting was radically altered. And what you're looking at is the third session of painting of this canvas. This is session number 3. Sessions 1 and 2 took place about 2 weeks ago, just about. So this session that you're watching is paint on a fully dry canvas. All the paint that was there at the beginning of this very session, all the paint was dry at 100%. I'm not using turpentine, I never do. I recently bought this solvent which has no odor, but I use it very little because I know those things are very toxic, so I just wanted to experiment with that new stuff, but I don't think I'll be using it much. I prefer to use the paint as it is, straight out of the tube, no linseed oil, no varnish, and no turpentine. No spirits for dissolving the paint, just the paint straight as it is. So as I said, I'm using zinc white and titanium white. I used to use only titanium, as you might find out in my other videos of painting. But now I'm using both, and strangely enough in this session I was not able to tell the difference too well. The difference between titanium white and zinc white is that zinc white dissolves into other colors more easily, and titanium white is a stronger type of paint that dissolves a lot less. So if you want to add white over wet paint that is of a different color other than white, it might manage to paint over it. It will always mix because it's oil, but it will, titanium will be solid enough, will be stronger than zinc normally. Now, of course, there's a little matter of the quality of the paint that you're using. I am using good paint, colors that I like, but quite frankly, they are rather cheap colors. I've used worse, but I'm not using the very best, not even half the very best there are. Just to mention a couple of brands that, of course, you know. Rembrandt, Van Gogh, and of course Winsor & Newton. I would use any of those three any day. And there's many others that are quite good. But I'm using a brand that is good, but it's really from lower shelves. It ain't top shelf stuff. So there I am, combining these colors and painting this character in a bit of a delicate way. And about 5 hours after what you're watching, this painting changed a lot. Adding a bit more detail here. Adding a bit more detail still onto the same character. And here we are adding a bit more detail of the left leg. Bit of a shadow. Bit of a shadow there. Right next to the right leg. Shadowing it in. Shadowing it in. Giving it a go there with a brush. Giving it a go here and there. Adding a bit more colorino. Putting a bit more detail, really, just a bit more detail, like just completing the image, conveying the image, so that the scene will be more fully defined. Adding a bit more color, yeah? Just a bit. Under the hand. A bit everywhere. Let's continue the work on this section of the painting. An hour afterwards, I think, or 2 hours afterwards, this whole character there that you're seeing. And over the collar, we just add a bit of white. There we go. And a bit of lemon yellow and a touch of white on top of that. And a bit more on the face. Defining the skull under the skin. Adding it in, as it were. A bit more, really, just a bit more. I'm trying to remember if how often I used to paint paintings over other paintings, almost covering completely the previous one. Shadowing now. Shadowing a bit, really. That burnt sienna sort of gets swallowed up by the other colors. Bit of purplino. if you have followed the other ASMR sessions that I've done, and if you remember the painting of the ballerina, which is still not complete, that one was first a canvas that you can find somewhere in the, perhaps on the very first one. On the very first, you can see how it used to look. And I painted over that something very different.
Bit of light on the front of the foot.
And that concludes today's session of ASMR painting. I hope you enjoyed this small session of this new painting. See you soon.